There are only two receivers on this roster better than Jalen Tolbert. Yo, what's going on, Cowboys fans? It's your boy Foots here. I know y'all haven't seen me in a while, and that's the beautiful thing about the offseason. You really get a chance to take your time, get into the film, get into the process, and really think about what nuggets we want to talk about. Just like the players need a break, content creators need a break. Well, at least this one does. And like for me, I'm not going to fabricate content. Like that's never been me. If I say something, I truly believe it. And the truth of the matter is, there are only two receivers on this roster better than Jalen Tolbert. And what we have to do, what we have to do as content creators, I'm not one of these guys that ride the fence. When the whole point of content creating and debating and, what we do is jumping out there on a limb, coming up with the thoughts, coming up with the notes, and ultimately sticking by your word. And if not, you have to eat crow. And I do believe that Jalen Tolbert is special. So we're talking about Jalen Tolbert versus James Washington, the battle for the third receiver position. When I watched the film, and I literally watched every game, I think he had 11 games last year, and obviously the most notable one being the Tennessee game. But I mean, some nuggets that I took, guys, and he has 7 games. This is crazy. Listen to this stat. I really want to talk. He has 7 games over 100 yards, and add 2 more 90-plus yards. And in one of those games, no, he did not. A couple of those games he didn't score, but the yardage and the way he's able to find windows and all, and we're going to get to all that. This guy is honestly kind of crazy that he hasn't been talked about more. I don't know if it was because maybe, Tyler Smith, people were kind of up and down on the number 1 pick. But to get Jalen Tolbert in the 3rd round was an absolute steal. So, offseason, we're talking, basically, this is kind of like a training camp battle type preview. I got a few more of these coming up. So, I'm going to break this down into 3 categories and how we're going to look at this battle. Because, James Washington, if you get 2019 James Washington, that could be a great thing. But, the OTA, he wasn't really there. The injury came out of nowhere. And I just think that the Cowboys and Dak, you see him out of town with Tolbert. I think that, and with the film I watched and what we talk about, I think that they're just going to really fall in love with this player. So I'm going to break this down into 3 categories, all right? The 3 categories I want: ability, both players' ability, just who they are, what they do, usage, how you can use both athletes, and then scheme. Okay, so those are the 3 kind of categories that I want to break this down. Look at how we can get the best out of Tolbert and James Washington because we want to give him a fair fight. And then just looking to say, I'm going to say, and I guess I messed the, I messed the teaser up already. But I guess the point is, I believe that Tolbert, man, receivers a tough learning curve, but this guy just has something. You look at the Senior Bowl reps, he just has something. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the ability. So in 3 games, the 3 games that stood out to me out of all the tape that I watched, literally every snap, guys. All the tape that I watched: Georgia Southern, Tennessee, and Southern Miss. 11 for 174, 7 for 143, and 5 for 168. The thing that's so special about Jalen Tolbert was, though he was at a small school, he didn't sneak up on anybody. Like, he was the scouting report at that South Alabama team. Like, you looked at the report, you looked at Jalen Tolbert, you looked at the player that he was and what he was going to do. The ability. I think that when you look at his juice, the 4.49 40 shows up on tape. It's not straight line. It's literally in and out of breaks. It's literally how he's able to get into windows. That's what I see in a player that's really 6'3", he'll probably get to about 205 by the time they break camp, and if he's lifting. So the size is real. You look at a player though who has extremely smooth breaks. The breaks, when I say breaks, in and out of cuts, they ran him on a lot of in-breaking things. So it would be like climb routes. They would go 3x1. They would put him in the middle of the field, and he would climb to the middle of the field. Once he broke the second lane of that defense, he would find his way open. And that's the route running and the speed. And then you mentioned the size. Let's look at James Washington. When you look at James Washington at Oklahoma State, he was more so used as a jump ball guy. And it's kind of weird because he's only 5'11", but the way that he attacks the football was special. The run after the catch actually wasn't bad as well. But then when he got to Pittsburgh, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, Ben Roethlisberger was a declining athlete. He was a declining quarterback. The arm wasn't the same. The offense didn't spark the same. And he suffered from that. But I just don't see the same amount of juice in the route running and the ability, the breaks. I mean, I said it. This is my third time saying the breaks. In and out of breaks, in and out of cuts, come back, quick game, slant game. They did one play where they ran slant wheel in the Georgia Southern game. It's like he just knows how to get open, and that 6'3" frame is real. So when you talk about the ability and just looking at those two players, just if you talk about ceiling alone, you have to go with Jalen Tolbert there. Let's go usage. How will the Cowboys use him? And I guess this will peel right in the scheme, so we'll go usage/scheme. That's fine. We'll talk about it. How was he used at South Alabama, whatever. Small school. How was he used? Every which way. Outs. I love when they ran out to the field. So even though it was a short field, they would condense their splits with him, and they were just running out. And because those corners were 6 yards off the ball, quick, get on top of that DB, out right now. And that 6'3" frame shows up, post him up, quick out, boom. And he has the ability, he's fast, like he can really run. So he's very Kenny Galladay-esque. He has that ability to make that play. Another thing that they did, which I'm begging, Kellen Moore to do more. Again, 6-7 yards of depth. Maybe it's a cover 3 look. Maybe it's cover 4. Maybe they're doing some type of a zone defensively. Okay, cool. Raise up, ball out right now. Let's send that slot receiver. Let's go block that corner, and let's let Jalen Tolbert get in space. South Alabama did that. They did that in the Southern Miss game. Those are the type of things that you want to see from the Cowboys, and that's how he was used. Another thing, and this will be my final thing, he was used as a big slot. They used him to work the middle of the field. So he's not just the edge guy. He was also used as a big slot. And that's where I think that Dallas can really make hay with their usage for Jalen Tolbert. Let's look at how James Washington was used in Pittsburgh. So what I saw on film was he was still kind of used how he was used at Oklahoma State. They didn't have a real role for him. The issue is, too, the ball was forced so much to Juju and other receivers that James Washington never really got in rhythm, never really got in flow. And then the last issue that I saw was that his size, it showed as an issue because he wasn't really as explosive as he was at Oklahoma State in the separation category. So as I'm talking about the breaks with Jalen Tolbert, that's my fourth time saying the breaks. These are the breaks. How he's able to break in and out. You didn't really see that level of route running from a James Washington. And I just think, again, when you talk about ceiling, you're looking at Jalen Tolbert and saying, wow, if he gets it, he really gets it when you talk about usage. Okay, let's talk about scheme. Right now, there are only 2 receivers on this roster that I've seen, using my eyes and using the projection, that are better than Jalen Tolbert. That is Michael Gallup, that is CeeDee Lamb. That could change very quick because the only person who has better ability on this roster is CeeDee Lamb. I think that Michael Gallup is probably a better edge guy, but if you want to talk about the whole shebang, the whole package, and if he reaches his ceiling, meaning a 4'9" athlete who doesn't have a thick frame, he can really run, meaning he can high point the ball. You see the ability at the Senior Bowl to fade, boop, boop, one step, go, fade, ball, 9-ball, restack. So for those of you who don't know what that means, so many times young receivers get in the league and they have a 9-ball and they get basically washed to the sideline because they don't know how to restack a DB. Well, when you're running 9, and you have a DB, let's say he's an off man, let's say he's in press, and you still have to restack and get back on your path to run that 9. He does such a good job of that, not giving up and not getting out leveraged and pushed to the sideline. I think that's, again, the size and the length. He's able to do that because he has that size. James Washington does not. And so everything turns into like a jump ball, which he was able to do in college, but he didn't really do it that much with Pittsburgh. And it could be because he just isn't blessed with the same ability as a Jalen Tolbert. So, scheme. I'm begging Kellen Moore to use this guy in the slot because I do believe that he can stress smaller DBs out. just because they're quicker guys doesn't mean that he's not gonna have issues with quicker guys, because guess what? He's a quick, smooth athlete. He really is. And I think the league is trending more to big slot, guys that can stretch the middle of the field. They're not big, burly players who take a long time to get going. So scheme-wise, you have your two guys on the outside. Obviously, when it comes to scheme, I do believe that quick game needs to be what Dallas does for guys like CeeDee Lamb. And you can have some of that in there for Jalen Tolbert because the run after the catch is really good. But I think with Tolbert, he can win on the outside, but I would like to see Dallas get very creative and move him in and outside. So work the middle of the field from the slot and on the edge, because he can do both and he has the ability to do both. All that being said, guys, I do think that he does win this battle. I don't know if James Washington is even going to come into camp healthy, ready to go. We'll see. Dallas likes to take their time. Guess what? I think that Tolbert will be ready to go. I think that he'll come in making sparks, making plays. He could be your number 2. Who knows? Crazy things have happened, but I'm going out on a limb and say I believe in Jalen Tolbert, and I have a really good feeling about this athlete. It's your boy Foots. I got some more camp battles, some more camp ideas coming up. Stick with me, rock with me. I think I'm going to do one more this week just because you guys have been so patient. It's your boy Foots. Y'all see how I wrote it down so